What is going on, guys? MJ2005 here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the high-grade Nimpulse Gundam from Gundam Build Fighter Shiem Counterattack. So this is basically the Impulse in a ninja motif. Well, to be honest, in the front it actually looks pretty good, but if you rotate it to the side, with the backpack in this configuration, it actually looks pretty weird, because you have just like this gigantic thing hanging off of the back with this joint over here. Well, in the back it still looks fine, but when you look at it off to the side, it looks actually kind of weird in this configuration. But nevertheless, the color scheme looks amazing, with the maroon with the brown complementing the gold, green, and white, and of course the gray joints. And actually, look at the head sculpt. Oh, this is one problem: the V-fin falls off pretty easily. Look at the head sculpt. Even in person, you cannot actually recognize the head as the Impulses. I kind of sense like some sort of ashtray motif, although people say this resembles the Testament, which I would agree. And in general, this is mainly the Impulse. As you can see, the chest without the gold piece and the jewel, the shoulder armor without the gold, and then you still have these holes over here if you want to peg on the shield, but you can't because of these joints over here. And then the waist, the side skirts are the same, and then the torso white piece and the waist gray pieces are the same. Leg armor is the same, this is different. The feet are the same. So basically, if you have the actual HGCE Revive Impulse, this build would be very familiar to you. So for stickers, very minimal. You have the eyes, which are linked together. You have the two green triangles on the knees. And then for some reason, you have two stickers under the V-fin. I don't know why there are stickers for it, because I put on the V-fin and you cannot actually see the stickers. So probably in the anime, it will detach its V-fin to reveal these visors or sensors or whatever. But other than that, if you plan to stick the V-fin on because it is very loose, you won't be able to see those stickers. So either that plays like a major part in the story where it detaches its V-fin so to show those sensors, or it just serves as decorative purposes. One thing that this guy has, obviously, with the gigantic thing for now hanging off in the back, it is extremely back heavy. Although, yeah, I did manage to get it to stand a few times. It's best, if you want it to stand, use the star as a pod, support pod. So that's all the details for the Nimpulse. For the articulation, it's basically the same as the Impulse. So the head is on a neck joint over here. It's not under a typical double polycap. And then the ball joint at the head. For some reason this can move, I'm going to show you guys later. The arms are on ball joints, but be careful when you're moving the arms because these blades may collide with the backpack. And you still have that leftover feature of the transformation. And then the arms can rotate over here. A double jointed elbow, if I can put it to work. That happens some of the time. And then a ball jointed wrist. The joint in the stomach is very tight on mine, so it can actually use as some articulation. Because on my HGCE Impulse, that would detach a lot of the time. But anyways, the waist will rotate to this extent only, it can't go any further. Ball jointed front skirts, you can separate them. Hinged side skirts, back skirts are stationary. The legs can go forwards, backwards, outwards, a little bit under all the way. Rotation at the hip, a double jointed knee, but you only get 90 degrees unless you bend the top joint first, because the leftover feature of the Impulse transformation is made so that the joint goes forward. So unless you bend the top joint first, you won't be able to get anything more than 90. Then the feet can go forwards and back, side to side, rotate, toe can come down, and then this armor piece can move. And then the consistently falling backpack, they have a hinge at the base, they have a hinge up top, and then these big pieces have a hinge at the base over here, and then a ball joint to connect them, and then the small pieces have a hinge over here at the base, and then a peg to connect them. So all in all, this is basically the same as the Impulse. So decent articulation, and since this is like a ninja Gundam, the articulation is enough to pull off some great ninja poses. For the accessories, first off, you have the Genge Kochoken, which is the blades on the arms. So you just flip them out and you can use them like so. But what I like to do is to rotate them so that the blades face down. That looks more like a typical sword instead of this. But pose it to your own liking. And then you have the Power Axe. It's just made up of 4 pieces of plastic, looks pretty good. And it can store in the back skirt like so. Although it falls off most of the time. And then it can be wielded in the hand by just unfolding this. You take off the hand like so. But the one thing I dislike about this is that the golden blades face sideways instead of facing down. So it really doesn't look like an axe, it looks like more of a racket of some sort. Unless you rotate the handle so that now this is what I like. And then you flip the axe around and there is a hole over here. So what they gave you is this, like a spear head that shoots out of the axe. I don't know what is it. It is a wire guided weapon of some sort, I think. But we'll have to wait until the anime comes out. And then you have this. There's no name for it on the instruction manual as far as I can tell. But this is used with the Ninpulse beam sets. So what you need to do is to push down the goatee. And then there's a hole in there. So what you need to do is peg this little peg into this hole. So now it can generate beams, which I will show off in the Ninpulse beam effects set review. So apparently this is how the Multh beam saber works. The V-fin. Gosh, the V-fin. And then what you have is the backpack. Now the backpack, before any transformations, you get this. This is an adapter to plug this thing, this entire thing, with the Gundam on an action base. So what you need to do is to peg this hole into this peg over here. So peg it on. And what I like to do is peg it onto the action base first. So what you need to do with the action base that it comes with is pull off, rotate, put it back in, do this, and then peg it into the hole that is in here. Although it would be very loose most of the time, I think the Gundam is heavy enough to weigh it back down. So here you go. You wouldn't need to be worried about any weight issues when you're posing on the ground. Obviously, you can still use the action base under the crotch. So now onto the fun stuff of the backpack. Oh, thank you for coming off. Is the cloak mode for the backpack, the wings. So the first gimmick of the backpack is the cloak mode. So what you need to do is take off the head. I would like to rotate these two towards the front to avoid any collisions. take this off. I might as well take this piece off. I know you can just rotate it, but I might as well take this piece off to show you guys the details. Because even the details in here are crucial. So over here, if the camera can focus, there. You can see that there are two kind of details over here. You need to make sure this side faces toward the back when you are putting this guy in cloak mode. At the same time, put this downwards. So you put up these small thin pieces and then lay down the big ones. And then make sure the detail is facing the back, and then peg this peg back into the backpack hole. Here we go. And then you can put the head back on. So now it is in its stealth cloak mode. I'm not really sure, but this gives me vibes of the Gundam The End. This looks pretty cool. And then the final accessory is the Tenku Juji Ken, which is basically the backpack used as an entire weapon. So let me remove the cloak here, and then now there are some pegs under these small pieces, and then there are holes on the big pieces. So what you need to do is to peg the small pegs into the holes, and after that is done, you get the Tenku Juji Ken, which is the gigantic ninja star. So now what you can do is put the action base back into its normal configuration, or just basically use an action base 2 that will allow more flexibility, and then peg the star back onto this piece, if I can do it correctly, that is. So with another action base, you can make it as if the Nimpulse is actually throwing out the ninja star. So that is all the accessories for the Nimpulse Gundam. So before I show off the comparisons, you have a leftover full beam rifle from the original Impulse. So if you want, you can give it to this guy and use it as long-range weaponry. You do also get some leftover parts to make the original Impulse, for example the ankle armor in the kit. So now on to comparisons. I do not have the Sengoku Astray, so I cannot compare those. So what I can compare is my Force Impulse. So as you can see, from the typical Gundam look with the lead Gundam colors to maroon brown with just like a samurai motif ninja. So that is the review of the Nimpulse Gundam. Tell me in the comments below, what do you think of this guy? And if you are watching this after you've seen the anime, tell me in the comments below, what do you think of this kit in the show? So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did like it, please be sure to drop a like, comment, and also subscribe for more gaming videos, model reviews, and all that kind of stuff. Subscribe to Ryan Swing Louie, Ace of Idiots, Momo, my cousin, and Plow Motor Productions if you haven't, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out, guys. Bye bye.